Of the 5 stages we've just discussed, proactive is the most important. From the perspective of an ISV, this is where the most critical work will be done in terms of readying their business for success in the cloud. Today, when we look at ISVs in the marketplace, we find the majority of them are in the awareness stage, which puts them on a very reactive footing when they receive demand from customers for cloud-based solutions. The implications to this kind of an ad hoc approach to providing a cloud solution are that the businesses generally haven't taken the time to think through all of the range of service that they should be offering in the cloud. Having not thought this through, they really offer what turns out to be an on-premise customized solution, generally hosted somewhere. And this causes a number of ramifications. One, the customer may not be getting all the services that they would expect in the cloud. Things like additional support around mobile users, support around things like provisioning and deprovisioning users of the solution, as well as some of the deeper, more verticalized kind of requirements that they're looking for. In contrast, an ISV who moves into a proactive position takes the time throughout their organization to think through what their cloud offering has to be. This means that they've looked at what the full range of the solution needs to be in order to drive high customer sat, what type of investment they're going to have to make in order to be able to deliver that solution and provide the high customer satisfaction. They've also taken the time to figure out what changes need to happen in their services organization, what kind of changes need to happen to their sales group, what kind of changes need to happen in the way they do lead generation, and what kind of changes need to happen in terms of being able to fund all of the different learning and shifting that's going to happen throughout their organization. They can then take a look at just how quickly they can afford to enter the cloud. They obviously don't want to move all of their prospects and customers there too quickly, or it's going to have a huge ramification on their ability as an organization to satisfy the need of that customer base and their prospects. So understanding exactly how quickly they can move, but also having their organization structured in such a way that they've clearly thought out what it is it will take to be successful in the cloud, positions them to move forward as a business. This positioning also allows them now to start thinking about where they want to go in the future. But at least being in this proactive stance gives them the ability as an organization to ensure that they're going to be successful as they start this new journey. Once a business has reached this proactive stage, they can easily stay there and continue to be profitable selling both their on-premise and new volume solutions in the cloud. However, there's some other areas they should look at. So as a new possibility, once you're proactive, you can begin to look at other lines of revenue you can add to your volume business. And one of those is moving towards managed services or outsourced IT. So for those businesses that have become proactive now, they can look at whether or not they can get more of that subscribable revenue that the customer is pouring out on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis by adding services that they haven't offered previously. In this space, they may look at their line of business applications. They may look at just the standard managed IT around the provisioning of client devices and users. They may look at additional help desk type functionality, or they may look at full outsourced CIO and directional capabilities that they can offer the customer in terms of making good forward-looking decisions around their IT infrastructure and the solutions that they use to drive their businesses. Another new possibility, once a business becomes proactive, is to look at becoming a cloud integration facilitator. In that mode, they integrate their own IP with complementary cloud offerings and point solutions from other providers in order to give their customers a seamless experience across a broad business process. Using their deep understanding of end-to-end customer business processes, cloud integrators focus on developing meaningful partnerships that can be leveraged to provide broader market solutions. In using these partnerships, they also open up the opportunity to become cloud brokers, whereby both their products can be offered by their partners and they can offer their partners' products. This opens up royalty streams as well as opportunities within their services organization to provide hybrid integrations from one cloud solution to the next and then back down into on-premise solutions that may already exist inside the customer base. Success as an application developer or ISV allows for greater market differentiation, higher profit margins, and new services which may be monetized. I'd like to take a few moments to think about the urgency with which your business needs to move to proactivity, and also to talk about the dynamics of what we see happening in the cloud marketplace. And I want to take a look at that from both the customer adoption perspective, but also from the businesses that provide solutions and how quickly they're migrating from on-premise to offering cloud solutions. Because this is going to go primarily to how quickly you unwind your customers. Every business has to remember that your own customer base are the prospects of your competitors in the marketplace. And as the applications that are in place now and the solutions that are in place now come to the natural inflection points, like a large version upgrade or a server upgrade, businesses are starting to take a step back and asking the question, should I reinvest in my on-premise solution, or should I think about moving to the cloud? So when we think about businesses moving to the cloud, whether they're a new prospect for the business or whether they're an existing customer, we only have a certain amount of time in which to establish our market presence there as a vendor. And after that, we stand the risk of no longer being the trusted solution provider if we haven't already broached the subject of cloud with our customer base, and certainly with our new prospects who are currently shopping in the market. So, thinking about the marketplace from a customer perspective, we generally break it down into 4 categories. We've got early adopters, then we have the early majority, then we have the late majority, and we have the laggards. The early adopters arguably are already trying to find their way into the cloud quite aggressively, but they only represent roughly 16% of the marketplace. It's the early majority that we need to be ready for, and we want our businesses proactively placed so that they're able to take advantage when this early majority starts to move, because it's going to represent about 34% of the addressable market. And right after the early majority moves, obviously the late majority moves, and that's another 34% of the marketplace. So that means a full 68%, more than 2/3 of the market, is going to move in fairly short order. And then finally the laggards will be out there, and they'll be the ones that aren't comfortable with cloud, don't want to go there, have a variety of reasons why they're reluctant to make the change, don't want to invest, whatever the case may be. But again, they're only going to represent 16% of the market, and they're going to be the ones that we're picking away at 4 and 5 years from now. So if you think about things in terms of the graph we've shown you here, we really got a curve that starts to emerge, which is early adopters are buying in 2011, 2012, and certainly before that as well. But as we move into 2012, we start to see the curve pick up. And moving through 2012 into 2013, we start to transition into the point where we're starting to see the early majority come to us. When the early majority starts to move, we're going to go from an addressable market that equals about 16% of buyers to an addressable market that equals 50% of the entire market. That'll be early adopters and early majority lumped together. If we're not ready with a cloud solution as a vendor at that point in time, then our addressable market for our on-premise only solution is the other 50% of the market. That means a huge margin squeeze. So if you haven't moved to a proactive stance where you're offering a cloud solution along with your on-premise, your market over the course of the next couple of years squeezes down to be about 50% of what it is today. That creates a number of margin pressures, it creates greater competition, and if you wait that long with that margin pressure and fewer sales, you're going to have to make that revenue investment to get your business ready to sell in the cloud at a time when you can at least afford it. So again, we want to recommend that businesses really need to get moving to this proactive stance now so that they're ready to sell profitably in the cloud. And that when we look at your customer base, while we don't encourage you to go en masse and try to move all your customers as quickly as possible, we want you to start addressing cloud within your communications to your customers, and certainly any customers who are meeting one of those natural inflection points around a large version upgrade or around a server upgrade. The cloud topic at least has to be tabled in terms of being an option for them going forward. So again, looking at the graph and the way we laid things out, you can see the customer segmentation, but now let's look at the segmentation for vendors. So from a vendor perspective, what we see is first movers and early innovators, and their opportunity in this market as we see it really is to be in the market by 2012. After that, in 2013, if that's when you're entering the cloud and volume marketplace, you're really going to be a fast follower. Again, I would recommend getting started in 2012, because in 2013, it just compresses the amount of time you have to make the investments and organizational change that's necessary, again, to be proactively selling in the cloud. And finally, the late entrants, what we're terming is those folks who don't get a cloud solution on the table until 2014, they're really going to struggle, I suspect, because the rest of the market will be so far ahead of them, and they'll be coming into the market at a time when both the early and late majorities are already buying solutions. So if they come into the market then, their learning curve is going to be very, very steep in terms of being ready to do this. Whereas the folks who start now, who start right away in 2012, building out their proactivity within the practice, will be able to ramp up in a way that gives them a lot more time to learn as they go and improve their service offerings and also improve the profitability of the services that they offer. As we move out into 2015 and beyond, we're going to see primarily the end of the late majority and the laggard part of the customer buying sector come into the marketplace. But again, that's not the part of the market you want to focus on. You don't want to be late to this game, because it's not just us and the Microsoft products that are moving into the marketplace, but it's all the competitive products as well. So it's not a matter of saying, well, perhaps the partner down the road for me isn't ready to go yet, so I don't have to worry about the pressure, because there's always other products and there's new market entrants developing every day that are coming at this from a cloud volume perspective that we also have to learn how to compete with and win against profitably. So please bear this in mind as you go into your planning phase, as the leadership team of your organization starts to think about how soon they need to move to the cloud proactive stance and get ready to go into the marketplace. It's really critical that these steps start happening right away, and that your organization starts to make the investments and change management necessary to get ready to be proactive.